I'm going to introduce you now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the When at Work podcast. You're with Julian Leahy, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Patience Jones from Kansas City, Missouri. Welcome to the show, Patience.
Thank you. Thanks, Julian.
And you are suitably named because you strike me as somebody that has a lot of patience. Is that true?
Oh, that's so kind. It's absolutely not. I
Oh,
have
at least
none whatsoever. And when my younger sister was born, my mom said that they contemplated her naming Grace, but then they said, we saw how it turned out for you, and we decided not to name her Grace.
didn't want
Thought,
to tempt fate.
I know.
Yes,
I do not live up to my name.
nor do I really. I find it a real battle to keep cool on the roads. And this is my big thing that I got to try and do because in front of the kids, when somebody is like being really bad at driving, I kind of get angry. But now I'm really good at just kind of I bottle it up and then just hope it goes away somewhere. So I'm getting better.
I think the bottling it up might be a recipe for disaster. I
Not
think
so
maybe
good, yeah, not so good. Yeah, I go walk the dog like 10 laps around the oval.
there you go. Yeah.
All right, now Patience has an exciting story with lots of interesting twists and turns. Was formerly a lawyer and doing defense for people being charged by the SEC. Is that correct?
SEC and the U.S. Attorney's Office, lots and lots of federal crimes. So everything from tax evasion to tax shelters to securities violations to conspiracies, all kinds of things. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't want any of those things in your mailbox.
you really
No.
don't. Yeah, I was not the kind of lawyer that somebody came to proactively. I did the kind of law where someone's in trouble and they need a lawyer. So
Understood. Yeah. Okay. Well, touch wood. I don't need a lawyer. And now, Patience, you have found yourself taking a bit of a pivot and you found yourself in Kansas City, Missouri, and you're at a company called Graphic Machine. How did that happen?
Um, very fortuitously. So I was in New York. I was practicing law, and just kind of got burned out and was looking to do something different, but I didn't quite know what. And I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but I know in the US, um, we like job titles a lot. And so if somebody is a lawyer, then that's what they do, and they couldn't possibly ever do anything else. So I was kind of, trying to figure out what I would do next and trying to think about how I would convince people that I could do something besides law. And my husband had started Graphic Machine, I don't know, 10 years or so before we met, and he had a lot of work coming in, and I had started doing work for him on the side on the weekends, kind of as a form of therapy to get out of my head with law and just do something that I enjoyed. So one day he said to me, you seem like you like this, you're really good at it, what would you think about coming to work with me? And I said, I think that is a great idea. So
Straight away, you
we
didn't have any doubts?
no,
Cool.
none. So we sort of thought about, okay, what does that mean for life in New York? And we had been kind of thinking about leaving New York, but we didn't know where. And my husband's originally from outside of Kansas City, a place called Wichita. And I had never been to Kansas City ever. So we came through for a friend's wedding. And about 12 hours in, I told him, this is where we should live. This is absolutely where he should live. And he said, I think you're crazy. You've been here for 12 hours. I've lived near here my entire life. This has never occurred to me to live here. So for 2 years, I made us come back here every vacation we took. And we stayed in a different part of town and we looked at everything. I finally just wore him down, I think. So we moved here. We didn't know a soul. His family had left by then. His friends were not here. I didn't know anybody here. But that was the point at which I said, okay, from now on, like, we're moving to Kansas City. I'm going to work with Graphic Machine. I'll keep my law licenses, but I'm done practicing law. And we're going to have this new life in Kansas City. That was the best decision we ever made. best decision I ever made. I shouldn't speak for him, but that's the best decision I ever made.
It's a real, we call it a sea change down here. Do you use that word
Yeah.
in America?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So and then Kansas City compared to New York, I mean, how many people live in Kansas City?
I'm so bad at things like this. Like I have zero sense. It's definitely fewer. I
It
will
wouldn't
say
be
that.
5 million, would it? Like it wouldn't
I
be that
think
big.
I think it's less than that, but if
Yeah,
it turns
less
out
than
it's
that.
more,
Yeah.
I'm
So
gonna
it's
be in
kind of
trouble.
small, big town. Still a big
Yeah.
city.
Yeah. I mean, it is uh, it's hard to find words for somebody who finds words for a living. I struggle to find the right words to talk about Kansas City because it is such a, I think it's like such a magical place. People are just super smart, super kind. There's a lot of weirdos here, which I love because nobody ever thinks like, oh, Kansas City's, full of weird people who think differently and do cool things. And, there are. I mean, I think I met weirder people my first month here than I ever knew in New York City. And I like that.
Well, I don't
There's a
know if you probably weren't looking hard enough for New York. There's quite a few
no,
weirdos in New York.
so many, so many. And those are my people. Like
Yeah.
that's I mean, the creativity here, the art scene, there's just I don't know, it's just nothing like it. And people are so generous and everybody wants to help. Whatever the thing is, people are all in. If it's, oh, somebody's dog needs surgery and they can't afford it, everybody's all in. Everybody's having fundraisers and bake sales. We just did this project in the city. I don't know if you are familiar with that cow project where people made like fiberglass cow statues and they painted them different colors and different themes. And I think I don't know what city it started in the US, but they're all over now, like in Chicago and New York. Um, we did something like that here recently where they made hearts that say Casey in the middle. And they gave commissioned and paid artists to do different themed hearts, and they put them all over the city, and they created like this little treasure hunt where you can go and find them all and be photographed with them. It doesn't change anything in the world. It doesn't fix anybody's problem, but it brings people some happiness
Community.
and it paid some artists and
Mm.
everybody's excited about it. And I think to me that's like such a quintessential Kansas City thing to do, you
Yeah,
know?
that's really good.
Like
We're losing that here, and we're becoming really jaded and cynical, and it's really weird. Like just the current politics of everything, and yeah, like getting back to that kind of sense of community is so important for like mental health and where people care about people. Yeah, hopefully we're gonna swing back because it's very unusual this turn we've taken recently. So
yeah.
I'm sure it'll all swing back.
Yeah.
Happened over in the States in general as well. I think we're just
Oh,
on a
yeah.
lag effect of that.
Well, I mean, I would like to say it was the lag effect. I mean, here it's not like it's over, So hopefully we'll all swing back and gain some normalcy and humanity and perspective and
Yeah.
yeah.
And now, patience. So originally, Graphic Machine was working with like architects and people that were requiring graphic services. So the name has become it's kind of it encompasses more than that now, and you've become almost like a marketing agency for who?
For architects, building materials and building products, and construction and engineering. So Graphic Machine started. So Brian, my husband, started it. He was originally an architect, and at the time that the kind of internet was becoming a much bigger thing and the dot-com bubble, he had been interested in computers since he was like 6 years old and had been coding, and that was fun for him. So he thought, well, I really like doing this computer stuff, and I love architecture and I want architects to be able to get their work built and to get better commissions and to be able to promote themselves. So I know what they want to showcase and I know how they think about things. So I'm going to start this company that helps them market by building websites, because that was like 1999. So it wasn't, I mean, we didn't have social media, we didn't have search engine optimization. So it was just building websites. And then he would do, business cards and branding and things like that. But it really did start with the web. And then he got, I think his sort of second really big commission was the Aperture Foundation, which is a photography foundation in New York that was started by a group of photographers, including Ansel Adams, way back. And they needed a website and they wanted to be able to sell things online. So he built their website and he built a store for them. And then he said, you could probably sell advertising and you could on your website and you could get some money that way, which is not something that people really had thought about doing at that point. So he created their ad model for them. Um, and for about 8 years, he was their agency of record until we moved to Kansas City. So that also informed how we thought about marketing for architects in being exposed to all of the photography and working with all the photographers. So it was a good kind of holistic evolution to the company, I think.
And now things are not quite as simple as they were back in 1999, and consumers need to see these people that they fall in love with, and you know this is why storytelling becomes important. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why storytelling is important and how on earth do you do it for architects?
Storytelling is, first off, I love storytelling. Like, it's what I've done, I think, my entire professional career. But I wish I would love to come up with a different name for it, because I feel like storytelling has such a, it's gotten this negative connotation about, like, well, if you're telling a story, you're lying. And that's not what we're talking about. Storytelling in the truest sense of telling someone a story, and hopefully they care about what you're talking about. And I think that's the most, probably the most important part of digital marketing or any marketing, is being able to tell a story about what you're doing and why people should care. Um, I think there's a feeling like, well, I need everybody to like me. I need prospects to like me and I need the press to like me. And yeah, that comes later. First, you have to get them to care. People only form opinions about things that they care about. So, why does somebody care about you? Why do they care that you exist? And the old adage, and I don't know who said it, but it was, we're not selling a mattress, we're selling a good night's sleep. That's true. Apply that to any industry, any product, anything. With architects, there's a lot of similarities, and I don't know that either group will like this comparison, but there's a lot of similarities with lawyers. You go to professional school, you have to take exams, you have to be licensed, you have, strict professional requirements you have to abide by. And people outside of your industry aren't really familiar with those, because why would they be? And with architects, we always call it the Mike Brady problem. I don't know if you have the Brady Bunch, and Mike Brady, he was the architect. And all anyone knew about his job was that he had a desk that was higher than everybody else's. And he always had cardboard cylinders that he carried around with him. And he always looked like he was drawing. So that's all anybody knows about architecture. And if you say architect, they think, oh, yeah, yeah, I know what you do. But no one knows what they do. So when architects are trying to distinguish themselves from other firms or explain to somebody why they do need to hire an architect and not do something themselves, or, whatever the other options are, it's really important to be able to tell the story of, this is what I do as an architect. This is the education that I have. This is the training I have. These are the problems that I solve that you don't even know could potentially be problems, because I take care of them for you. So helping to tell that story to people in a way that non-architects understand, but at the same time that architects don't feel like it's such a basic description that it's demeaning to them. Because there's really a sense among architects often of, if I have to tell you what I do, then you don't deserve to have me as your architect. And I get that, but also then you're not going to have any clients. So let's find a mid road where we are able to tell people in a very distinguished and appropriate way that's still accessible what you do and what your value is and how you're different from other people. So that is definitely, that is a story. Um,
Do you have like an example or a case study of somebody and where you've helped them on that journey and what sort of stuff you did for them?
yeah, we had a firm, a bunch of them, but one of the stories is a firm that was not a firm when we started working with them. It was an architect who had come from another larger firm. He was leaving to start his own practice, and he just needed help. I mean, he needed a name, he needed a website, he needed the whole bit. So we branded his office. You know, we came up with the name, we came up with the whole branding concept, what his messaging should be, and worked with him on, this is your story. You know, this is what is unique to you that nobody else has. And that was done through a process of really having lots of conversations with him about, what do you want to do? What kind of people do you want to work with? What's the thing that you like most about your job and your clients? Because let's get more of that. You know, I think it's easy to kind of say, well, I want to serve everybody, or I want everybody to be my client. Well, you're never going to have everybody be your client. So pick the kind of thing that makes you happiest. If you could make a wish and you would only ever get X type clients from now on, let's go after that type of client. So let's, you know, talk to them about who you are and what you can do for them. And it was great because he enjoys the work. We've built up, and he's built up a huge, you know, stable of clients. He's won all kinds of awards. He's been published. And that wouldn't have happened if he was trying to be somebody else, or if he had said, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about why I'm qualified, or I don't want to talk about my thought process. You know, I just want to put up 5 pictures and people should hire me. So it it was rewarding, and it was good also because his work is really good. And that's part of why we do what we do, because we want more good people to have more work. We want the world that we live in to be built well and to have good spaces for people to exist in. So um, I'm always happy when clients are will just kind of relax into the process.
Did it take much massaging to get him to relax into that and accept that there is some knowledge here that he didn't quite have about building a
Yes,
brand?
yes. I think I think the more, not always, but often, the more education you have, and the more degrees you have, and the more licenses you hold, um, you sometimes just feel like, well, I can do everything. I'm just choosing not to do this thing. And, you know, I don't know as much as my doctor about how to read an x ray. So I have to trust that my doctor is reading the x ray correctly. It took a while. Um, you know, it was a lot of trust, you know, and we had to build up that trust, you know, and in fairness to this person, like, this was a whole new business that we were being trusted with.
Mm.
So it took a little
Hadn't
bit,
it
and it would,
worked, it would have been a disaster. Has he
oh my
become
God.
an evangelist now for you?
Yes. Oh yeah. Which is
Awesome.
great, you know, and just to see that more of his work is getting out is also great. And he's the first person to say, you know, I know at first I wasn't so sure about this, but it worked. So I appreciate that.
Awesome. All right, now I try to find one gold nugget, and I think today we talked about with patients niching down and just picking the thing that you enjoy doing the most, because you can't do everything. And if you try to be an every person and be have services for everyone, you end up servicing nobody, because you're not identifying yourself and you're not standing out to the right audience. And so you may as well pick the thing that you enjoy, that you do the best, and just focus on that. And then the people that are really aligned with you will start to really hone in on you. And that's, you know, you just got to do that, and consistency, and that's how you do it. And thanks for coming on. Now, Patience, if I don't know how many architects I've got out there, but if there's anybody that wants to, it's not just architects, is it? We talked a lot about architects, but who else do you work with?
We also work with building materials manufacturers and distributors. So all of the people who sell all of the things that go into a building, everything from windows to tiles to dividing walls to window shades, any kind of building systems, we work with them. And we also work with construction firms and with engineering companies. So
Right. And a lot of these people don't really work or think about marketing. So, I mean, this stuff is, you do need a professional to help you with this. And this is the stuff that will just transform your business online, so that you're not always just sort of treading water. This allows you to scale, doesn't it, Patience?
it really does. I mean, one of our clients is a buildings products company, and they used to have to go to trade shows physically all the time to be able to market their product. And when COVID hit, obviously they weren't able to do that. But because of everything that we had done for them, about a year and a half before COVID hit, they had already stopped going to trade shows because they're getting so many leads and deals through all of the digital things. And the client said, now I go to trade shows because I want to, or because I want to see somebody, but I don't have to constantly be traveling and incurring the expense and taking the time. So it allows you to scale. It allows you to reach anybody, anywhere, at any time, which is also nice, because if your client doesn't happen to be in the office at 4 o'clock when you come by, they would prefer to review things at 11 o'clock at night. They can do that.
Sounds like a case of good timing for that client if you got him all set up just before COVID hit.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good. I mean, relatively. Yeah.
Yeah, all things considered. All right, well,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on now. Patience is at graphicmachine.com, and I'll put her socials on the blog as well. I'd like to thank you for coming on, Patience. I had a wonderful
Thanks
time
for
talking
having
to
me.
you.
Likewise. It was great. Thank you so much.
No worries. And everybody else, thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you very soon on another episode.